Hi Keith Elementary, it's Miss Baker, and I am here to kind of give you a tour of your school garden. So I first wanted to start off and show you the compost bins. So although school gardens are closed, just like the playgrounds are closed, I'm up here to take care of the garden for you, and I wanted to show you around so that you could see what's growing. The first thing I want to show you though are these compost boxes. So let me show you what's growing inside and we can talk about it. So these are your compost boxes. There's 3 of them. This is a design that actually you can use and you can put green waste in one, brown waste in one, and then a mixture in one. So that is why there's 3 compartments if you've ever wondered. We've got over here an old pineapple top. We've got a big dandelion weed. What else is going on? There's a little insect crawling around. But this beautiful dark soil is what ends up in here after things decompose. You can see here's an old turnip. So when we put plant waste in a box like this, or you could just throw it in a pile in your backyard, this might be something that you want to talk to your family about, starting a composting system. But it's basically a way for you to recycle or reuse plants from your garden. Instead of throwing them in trash, you can put them in a pile or in a box and let them break down and become that dark, rich, humus soil that we know plants love because of all the nutrients. Over here, I don't know if anybody can recognize that leaf shape. I know how to identify what it is, and if you've been out in the garden, maybe you know what that is. That is a zinnia. So that actually is going to be a pretty flower. I'll have to check back in a week or so and see if it's blooming. So there's some weeds, there's some grass, there's some things breaking down like old turnips. But your compost boxes are a really great feature of your school garden because it is where we're making humus from plants that are decomposing. Now let's go take a look at the garden. Look at this. I first walked up, and what is there to see? What kind of butterfly is that? That is our state insect of Texas. That is a monarch butterfly. So pretty. The plant looks like a bluebonnet. A lot of friends think that that's a bluebonnet, but that's actually a salvia, and I believe that the variety is called indigo spires. So that is just a really great nectar plant. So your butterfly garden's looking awesome. We've got a big rosemary bush here in the butterfly garden. We've had some oregano over here. There's some other salvia. This one has a fun name. It's called Hot Lips. Let's see if you can tell why this one is called Hot Lips. Let me see a good one over here. Here we go. Let me zoom in on this one. Do you see that flower shape? Those kind of look like lips if you use your imagination. So we've got some different varieties of salvia. Okay, so I wanted to show you this plant. There's only a couple of them left, but I bet you guys know what type of flower that is. That is the state flower of Texas. That's a bluebonnet. And most of the bluebonnets are gone now. They're done blooming. But over here, I wanted to show you these structures. These are the bluebonnet seed pods. And the seed pods are not, the seeds are not ready yet, but they're forming. And the important process that's happening right now is that those seeds are developing inside of the pod, P-O-D, a seed pod. And as they develop, the pod will get bigger, then it will turn yellow, then brown, and when the seeds are all ready and the seed pod dries out, they'll pop open and the seeds will fall to the ground, and that is next year's planting. So the important thing with bluebonnets is just leave them alone. Let those seeds develop, and then that will be your seeds for next year's bluebonnet flowers. So butterfly garden's looking good. Monarchs are flying around. Beautiful flowers. Very pretty. Okay, so over here in your rose garden, we've got some really pretty knockout roses. We have another pink one here. I believe this one is called Duchère. Very pretty pink rose. And then we have some, let's see, here's another really pretty shape. So the flower bud right here, before it blooms, this one right here is still closed up, and the one next to it is just starting to bloom. And then there's some that are full bloom too. And also on a rose bush is this. Oh, here's the white roses. Got some really pretty white roses too. So on a rose bush, when you see this reddish tint to the leaves, this is all new growth. So some of the leaves are green, but then the very tippy top part over here is a good example. This leaf is older, and these reddish leaves or copper color leaves are the new growth. So there's a lot of new growth on these roses, which is good. And then back here around the back side are the climbing roses. This one is one of my favorite roses. So if you look at how long this stem is, this is a climbing rose. Now this one doesn't really have anywhere to go, but look over here, how they're crawling across this fence. So you can train it to go however you want. You can make it go under and around. And the idea is that a rose bush like this would crawl along a fence or a wall. But you can see how pretty these long stems are. Let's take a look at your vegetable garden. So in this bed, we have carrots. And the carrots have been growing very nicely. The root is tucked away under the ground. Of course, you can eat the leaves and the stems of a carrot. A lot of people don't realize that, but there's many parts of the plant that we aren't typically used to eating, but you definitely can eat it. The leaf could be used in a salad. You can use it to make pesto sauce for your pasta. So don't always think that you can just eat one part of the plant. There's a carrot. So in my hand, show you, this is a tiny one. Uh-oh, dropped it. Not super big, but a nice carrot. So of course the part that we know we can eat is the root. Then there's a stem and a leaf. Those are looking good. Now let's take a look over here. So these are tomato cages. The tomato cage is what's going to help it stand up tall, the plant, as it gets bigger. And look what is over here. There is a fruit. So we've got some tomatoes growing. There's the flowers, and we know that flowers are where the seeds are after making the fruit in the case of a tomato. So we've got 2 tomato plants here. There's one random pea pod plant that's still here. That's pretty cute. That's more of a winter crop, and we definitely are not in winter anymore. But you see that little pea pod? There's a little pea pod. There's still flowers. So the flowers are what makes the seeds. So on a pea plant, here's some pea pods under here. Do you see that pea pod? So we've got tomatoes. We've got kale. We've got some very old lettuce, and I know it's an old lettuce because look, it has flowers. So maybe you've never thought about, where are the flowers? Where do the seeds come from on a lettuce plant? We're used to eating the leaves, of course. We know the roots are in the ground, but this plant is about to bloom, and the flowers are where the lettuce seeds will be found. Here's one that's just about to bloom. Let me show you, zoom in. See that little yellow flower there? So the lettuce flower will bloom. It'll get pollinated by the bees, and then that flower will make lettuce seeds. So this garden's looking good. Okay, last garden, strawberries, and look at this. What has been eating the strawberries? What do you think? Let's see if we can see any evidence. Let me look. Oh, there it is. Did y'all see that? What's crawling around under there? Oh, they rolled up into a little ball. What do you find in a garden that rolls up in a little ball? Let me see if I can take one out. Here, this is who's been eating your strawberries. Can you see that in my hand? What is that? That is a roly-poly. Roly-polies are decomposers. He's having trouble getting over on his back. I think he has a piece of dirt on his back. So underneath all of these pine needles are roly-polies, and that's who's been eating your strawberries. You wouldn't think a roly-poly could do that much damage, but slugs and snails and roly-polies are decomposers. Here's some flowers, so there'll be more strawberries growing. Here's a green strawberry. So that one's not ripe. So we've got decomposers working over here in the strawberries. We have some old spinach just like the lettuce I showed you that was blooming. Here's some spinach that has spinach flowers. So you wouldn't want to eat any of this. These are old winter crops, but they're really interesting to kind of study and learn what the complete life cycle of a plant is. It started with a seed, and now it's going to end up with seeds. After these flowers bloom, we'll get spinach seeds. Over here, looking good, these are the potato plants. So under the ground, potatoes are growing. These are not ready. They won't be ready until probably the end of May. But these are beautiful red potato plants, and then the potatoes are growing under the ground. Last thing down here, these are cucumbers. So of course there's no fruit yet, and they're a little bit dirty from the rain and the soil splashing up, but we've got cucumbers growing down at this end of the garden. So in this bed we have cucumbers, red potatoes, old spinach, and strawberries that are getting chewed up by roly-polies. And that's it. One last thing that I just spied that I wanted to make sure to point out. We said that these 2 cages are here to support the tomato plants. Tomatoes are not a vine. They do not have any tendrils to connect them to these cages. These cages are just going to be there to support the branches. But this pea pod is a vine, not pea pod, this pea plant is a vine. Let me show you this great adaptation. Do you see the tendrils that are wrapping around this tomato cage? A tendril is an adaptation for a plant, and it wraps around and helps the plant crawl up to the sun. So I just wanted to see that. Look at it down here, all tangled together. I just wanted to make sure that you saw these tendrils before I left your garden. Pretty great example of a plant adaptation. All right, Keith boys and girls, thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again soon. I just wanted to show you around. I'm taking care of your garden, and once it opens back up, then we'll be ready to go with your garden growing healthy organic food. See you next time.